But in the beginning, it's all testing, it's all learning, and that's very, very frustrating. And I'll tell you, more people than not started with me because of the visual motivations that I shared early in my career. You have to fall in love with the process of learning, and then over time, you learn what you're good at, you can size up later on.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Trade Takes with me, Sam, presented to you by investors. And we've got another great show coming at you tonight. A guest and collaboration that no one would have expected. He's arguably one of the most influential people in the day trading space. And I was particularly excited to interview tonight's guest just because he was the first person that I found in this space and the first person that actually had a message that resonated with me, with trading. And arguably, he's probably one of the most influential people to me, just because he started that journey. And from that journey, I was able to find IU, I was able to find Nate, and many other great people. Now, without any further ado, be open-minded, and let's get stuck into the show. Mr. Timothy Sykes, how you doing?
All right. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. And what a collab. I mean, I don't know how many people were expecting an IU by Tim Sykes collab, but I think it's absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much for joining us.
No, my pleasure.
I'm particularly excited about tonight because you were the first guy I stumbled upon so I was trading. So I'm obviously from the UK. So I was trading on like UK, obviously similar stuff, pieces of crap. And you were the first person I came across. And so I basically got you to thank for starting me on this journey to where I've got today. So I'm excited about tonight, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank you. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have a similar story to me, so thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure. I think more people should get into trading these pieces of crap. They're fantastic. We're basically recycling. We're turning pieces of crap into beautiful lives. So we're doing the world very good. And then successful traders are putting the money back into society by living our best lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's mad, isn't it? When I try and explain to people what I do, like all they want to talk to me about is, well, at the moment, obviously, they just want to talk to me about Bitcoin, but they want to talk to me about Facebook and video and all these big companies. And I'm like, I don't actually know. I just tend to trade the worst of the worst companies you will never hear of, and probably will never hear of either.
It's kind of beautiful, let outsiders think what they want. This is why 90% of traders lose. They have all these, misconceptions. And you basically just have to find where you can get edge. Like people are like, oh, what do you think about China's economy? What do you think about the dollar? I'm like, I don't know. This is all guessing game stuff. I like, my little setups. I like my short squeezes. I always thank the short sellers for their sacrifice. Short sellers out there, thank you for sacrificing.
We're going to come on to that question a bit later.
Health, your wealth. No, I got to be straight up. Like, we haven't had any promoters or any successful promoters lately. So it's the shorts that are spiking the stocks the most. Any short sellers out there, if you're feeling down, feeling underappreciated, send me your address. I'll send you like an edible arrangement, like nice little arrangements of some fresh fruit to get your vitamins in there. We want you shorting more, creating more squeezes. Thank you, guys.
I will give you my address, and I will definitely take some fruit off you.
Cool.
Just before we get into it, so I mean, obviously, one thing I just want to touch on before we start. Obviously, I'm fortunate in terms of, or we're fortunate in 2024, or even like the past 5-6 years. You start trading, and you find people like you find people like Nate, Lucas, etc. Now, I'm guessing when you started, you didn't have that. So if you were to look at like where your career is now versus then, how would you say it's? I mean, it's got to be remarkable, right?
I mean, the times have changed. And when I first got started, there weren't that many traders sharing their ideas transparently. There was a lot of people who would put in message boards their buys, and you never hear about their sells. And I was like, that's not trading. And it's like, wait a minute. And sometimes the stocks would spike up, or sometimes it wouldn't, and you just wouldn't hear anything about it. And I was like, this is so messed up. So, really with the advent of better technology, more chat rooms, social media, all of this stuff has created a much better playing field for those who want to learn. And you can learn different strategies, take a little something from every different trader, see what strategies work for you, see what chart patterns. We're all in different time zones. We have different strengths and weaknesses. So you just have a huge variety, but you have to be willing to really study. And that's the number one thing. Most people still to this day, which hasn't changed over 25 years since I started, they just want hot picks. They just want money. They don't want to do the digging. They don't want to do the data researching. They don't want to dig into the SEC filings. And sadly, like the most money that you make will be in the smallest details. So you got to put in the time. The learning curve has sped up with more opportunity, but at the same time, it's the same pitfalls, and human psychology doesn't change, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great point you talk about. Now, something actually that I'm always talking about is that, like the devil, I think, is always in the detail, and the nuances of. I mean, nuances are important, and details matter. I mean, like you look at like today, for example. I mean, we were we were exchanging a few messages, and I mean, you're exhausted. It sounds like wild day.
Lots of plays, and because of this, more level playing field, more information, better technology, more access to capital. The markets have just surged. We're at all-time highs with crypto, all-time highs with the stock market, all-time highs with trading opportunities, with volatility. So it's awesome, but it can be overwhelming. And you and I both know times when it hasn't always been this opportunistic. And so we don't want to take it for granted. So we want to capture everything. We want to squeeze all the shorts like the bitter lemons that they are.
But that can sometimes, like on that note, though, that could sometimes be the frustration in terms of like every day does have so much potential, and sometimes actually, like today, for example, I'll be reflecting after we wrap this up, and I'll be like, actually, I didn't make the most of today, and actually today there was great opportunity, and to be honest, yeah, I didn't make the most of it, and that equally is frustrating because there is so much opportunity.
What's possible, and it's frustrating when you don't capitalize. I mean, we'll look into the charts in a little bit. I was buying ZENA in the 3s, selling it in the 4s, happy as a clam because I was giving an all-day live webinar. I explained my whole thesis. It worked out perfectly. Now after hours, we're in the 8s. So you want to talk about missed opportunity, but at the same time, I don't regret it. I've made a career of selling too early. And I think as a teacher, I'm not paid to take the biggest risks. I'm not a hedge fund manager. I just want to show setups. And some people are like, how do I, hold stocks longer and really capitalize? And I'm like, I don't know. I sell too soon all the time, but I think that's fine because, you have the opportunities and you just have to try to take what you can and not worry about what you leave off. I mean, life is long. There's going to be more opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm always reminded by is that, I just turn up tomorrow and I'll probably do the same thing and hopefully it goes a little bit better than today. I think we should just move on. Yeah, I think we should start talking about Xena and a few others then from today, if you don't mind. If we can
100%.
share the screen. All right, cool. Yeah, so obviously you touched on some of the big opportunities today. Xena, definitely ZENA. I mean, definitely one of them.
That's it. This is the simple chart that I look for. I notice you have one line. What is your line there?
I just got VWAP. That's it on this chart.
That's what I do. This would be the exact same thing if I was showing my chart. If you keep it so simple like this. In the past, I didn't use the VWAP. I didn't want to be in these very trader-centric stocks. Now this is where all the longs are. This is where all the shorts are. I had a simple buy right in the middle of this in the 320s. When it was hugging the VWAP, it stayed above it. It had already touched the 380s, 390s. So I'm just buying it on the dip.
So you bought around
right there, right
about 130 this afternoon. You pushed up, pulled back, held VWAP, and then
that's it. That's my whole strategy right now. Buying short squeeze stocks, squeezing the bitter lemon shorts. I sold some in the 330s, then I sold some in the 450s, and now it's in the 8s or 7s, I guess. Now it got to the 8s. But that's it. There was another VWAP hold later in the day, which I could have taken. And I regretted that, but I just wasn't sure it was going to hold it. These short squeezes are kind of scary when, it works, it looks beautiful, but when they start to lose momentum, you're just not sure at the end of the day. So I prefer midday and early day VWAP holds.
Yeah. And I mean, let's just drill down a little bit. It does sound like you're keeping it simple, I always think, for me anyway, my trading is always better when I I keep it simple. It's 10 times better all the time.
Keep it simple, stupid. KISS.
Stupid, yeah, or keep it simple, Sam. I always say.
There you go.
So you're sort of buying around this 1:30. Obviously, it's holding into the afternoon. I mean, what's giving you the conviction that this won't just flush through VWAP and fade off all day? What is giving you the extra conviction that this is going to be the one actually that could spike into end of day, or at least a buck, or a few dimes?
So you never really know every time. I mean, you could be wrong at any time. I'm willing to cut losses quickly. That's always been my rule number one. But if you go back to a Friday chart on PDYN, which was very similar price action, and that's, when I was giving my all-day webinar, go to around 1 p.m. on PDYN. It's literally, I can't even make this up. It was at 1:06 p.m., 2 days in a row. Both of these broke out. And It was to the minute. And so it's are we living in a simulation? Is there some grand wizard hiding behind all of this? But it was the same kind of action where you have these kind of unknown plays, huge momentum, huge upside, complete trash companies. And, I feel like shorts get a little over aggressive because they see them spiking. Then you see a little fade come in. And I know a lot of short sellers, myself included, when I used to short, I would have shorted this. So I'm thinking from my prior self when I would be shorting, and I don't short anymore. I haven't shorted in 3+ years. I'm far more positive a person, and I think about what I would have shorted, and this is the time to squeeze. In the past, for example, I never would have bought midday. I used to say, avoid midday chop, avoid midday fake outs. Now, I love these midday buys because that's when I feel like a lot of shorts are trying to pound it. They're trying to break it through the VWAP. And if it doesn't, it squeezes up. And you have, Xena went all the way really nicely to 5 from 3.2. I underestimated. I sold some in the 330s just to play safe, to minimize my position. Then I sold the rest in the 450s. And I was happy.
Yeah, it's interesting what your comments are about evolving, because, for example, as someone who does primarily short, don't get me wrong, I saw this today. I didn't long it, but I also wasn't interested in shorting it just because, pretty much.
Well, you're a smart short seller. We don't like you. We want the over aggressive ones who are just this is a bad company. Dilution tracker says this. And we just want them to be emotional. So half my tweets are ripping on shorts just to make them more emotional.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, since you brought up, that's one thing I was going to talk to you about, because it makes me laugh every time, and I must admit, I don't get in the least bit as someone who primarily shorts, I don't get offended one bit. But I do find
I have to try harder.
Yeah, no, yeah, maybe you got to try harder. But maybe I do think it's funny that you do seem to rile people up on it. Now, you obviously are vocal about short selling, and I know you are primarily on the long side now. If not
100%.
Yeah, if
I
not,
literally haven't shorted in 3 years.
But
it's like drinking. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous. If I had a little coin next to me, I don't short sell. You have to understand, it's not that short selling isn't profitable. Many of my top students have made millions shorting. I've made millions shorting, but I teach newbies, and newbies, I've learned over 15 years of teaching, they're just not financially responsible. They don't understand how quickly things can get away from them. So I don't want to put them on a battlefield. They're basically brand new soldiers on a battlefield, and you don't just put them in front of a grenade, which is what some of these plays can do if you short too quickly.
And to be honest, I think there's a lot of merit to that, because I think if you're trying to anticipate the range on something like Xena at the moment, no one in the morning was thinking $8, right? And I always think I remember the old me as a newbie short seller would have been oh, I had some here, it goes a little bit against me, I had a little bit more, and then before you know, and I always think about this market at the moment, anyone you think MSTR, anything across the range is just bonkers, both ways, of course. And I think
it's a slippery slope, but
yeah,
you can lose a lot more. If you go back to BTCT a few weeks ago, I was buying this in the 4s, and I thought that it could crack the 5s. I was buying this pre-market, and it just wouldn't crack 5. I tried 3 times pre-market, and I was so pissed off, and I just got out. And then obviously 2 days later to the 20s. So I'm not always right, but it's just recognizing these potential grenades that newbies fall for, and creates great squeezes with great upside.
Yeah. So in short, though, you a responsible short seller who's very patient, waits for the blow off, waits for other shorts to get squeezed. You do potentially think actually there's edge in that setup,
I mean,
but
there's huge edge. That's what I used to do. But again, I just recognize what my role is now as a teacher. I'm not a hedge fund manager. I trade for charity. I made nearly $10,000 today. That all goes to charity. That builds 3 homes for families in need in
yeah, it's
Bali. So,
incredible.
you have to choose what your goals are and what you're trading for. I mean, I've been trading for 25 plus years. I would be so thoroughly fed up if I was just trading for trading profits these days. But now when I travel, donating the money, seeing where the money goes, meeting the students, seeing where teaching the process goes, that's what makes it meaningful for me. I don't have to work this hard anymore, but I love it. And it's because I've tailored my experience to what fulfills me.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And I mean, 10K to charity today, that's immense. So yeah. And that, I mean, that's inspirational itself. And I know like you're good friends with Lance, for example. I know he does something similar. And I mean, it's great to see. I think it's great to see that actually the end goal can be and should be to be financially secure. And then at that point, you can do whatever you want with your money and to give back. I think it's great.
I mean, that's the beauty of this. Like people say, oh, money can't buy happiness, but like it depends on how you use it, right? Like once upon a time, I went through the car phase. I had all the exotic cars, didn't make me happy. It blew me up on social media. So that was cool. I was fighting with rappers because I had more money than them and they were just faking it. But like, you get over that. The cars weren't fun anymore. Donating to charity, taking care of my family, traveling, taking students now on trips. Like, you get to choose. The longer you're in this game, if you're successful, you have unlimited freedom. And that's really what money is. It's freedom. It's not just about spending it on stupid stuff. There's also a saying, a fool and his money are soon parted. So, it won't make you happy. You go for too much, you bet too big, you lose it all. Trading is very fragile. If you ever get too cocky, the market will humble you in a very expensive way. So if you ever think, oh, the market is so easy, I can just bet big, uh.
No, it's very true. So to make 10K today, you obviously, it sounds like you traded more than just Zena or Zena. Just for anyone watching, we're recording this on the 25th of November. I mean, basically, we're in the peak of quantum going nuts. We just come off the back of Bitcoin, anything Bitcoin related last week going nuts. So, I mean, so what else did you trade today?
AI and drones too. But I was also buying, I mean, it was Zena for the day. I traded it 3 times. The biggest one was from 320 to 450. That was 6,000, just 5,000 shares, making a little over $1 a share. But then I traded it a few other times, just dip buying it, the one play, like buying it at 320, selling it in the 330s, making a little over 1,000 there. But QMCO also, if you want to pull up that chart, that's a crazy chart.
That was nuts, yeah.
That's
That
just
was nuts.
crazy. And I literally missed like the morning run. So I'm trading it again midday, thinking that it's going to bounce. But just zoom in on that morning spike. This is a great example where this is a ridiculous, useless company, but it spikes up like this because of short sellers, and you just can't guesstimate how high it's going to go as a short seller. So like there's no real point in trying to do that unless you want to lose big, you want to risk big. I get it. Some shorts have big accounts, so they just keep averaging up. For me, this was actually a failed VWAP hold. I mean, it did hold the VWAP, but it was pretty weak. You can see here, like midday, right in that chop.
Yeah.
I'm buying it, and I basically gave it like 30 minutes, and I switched my focus from this to Xena because I was like, this isn't doing anything. It did technically hold VWAP, but this happens a lot of the time where right in that chop right there, right? Like it's barely holding it. And I made like 50 cents a share. I basically just had to get out because I wanted to, transfer my focus to Xena, which held the VWAP much better. But like
Yeah.
how long have you been trading now?
About 5, 6 years now, I think it is. So,
And you have one line on your graph, which is the VWAP. If I could get my screen share working, you would see the same line. So like you gravitate towards what works. In the past, I never traded midday. I never used the VWAP. Now, because I'm trading short squeezes rather than OTC promo plays, I adapt. And this is what I'm looking for. I missed the whole run up on QMCO this morning. I was just like, this is so scary The spread was 60, 70 cents a share. You have to understand, for me, I'm trading and I'm alerting. So if I'm trading and I'm alerting it, literally it would change like a dollar or two between when I start typing my alert and by the time I finish it. So that's no good.
Yeah, I mean, this is another interest. It's funny actually. The two plays you mentioned so far. So Nate swung QMCO over the week. Was it? Oh yeah, over the weekend. I think he was frustrated. He sold. I think he sold in like the 15s, 16s, maybe made some into the later teens, and ZDNA as well. I mean, you're obviously well aligned in your thought process in terms of the two you mentioned so far. He was also long, but I mean, I suppose more importantly, not short. Which, I mean, again, like it goes back to what we were just saying. Like this doubled on, so this tripled on Friday, and then doubled again. I mean, nearly tripled again today. It's only a couple dollars off tripling again.
This is a short squeeze, and this, it's not looking very strong right now after hours, but this could go to the 30s or 40s tomorrow. Like, this is what we've seen, where you just have so much upside. Newbie shorts, again, thank you for your sacrifice. We appreciate it. These stocks don't deserve to go this high. Xena didn't deserve to go to the 8s. At least now after hours it's coming down to the 6s. We're just trading the volatility, and we're looking for catalysts. On Friday, I was long PDYN. I have a Friday newsletter where I buy on a Friday and the goal is to sell on Monday. And I took profits. I made 20% on PDYN on Friday. And then the thing spikes another, 50%. So like, I don't care about the leftover money. I just want to be there for when I think there's high odds profits. I think that's really what you can do as a newbie trader, as a veteran trader. Sometimes you sell too soon. Sometimes you take more of the meat of the move. But like, if you're on the right track, it's really tough, like, not to profit with these crazy swings with the right strategy, with the right mindset. I'm not saying trading is easy. I would never say that. But like, you can put yourself in a situation to really succeed.
You know, the funny thing with QMC, is it QMCO, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
QMCO is obviously, like, with quantum computing is going nuts at the moment. It's not actually quantum computing related. It just happens to have quantum in the name, which again, I think just adds fuel to that. I mean, it does add fuel to that fire, like you were saying.
Look, over the years, you see different manias pop up. 20 plus years ago, I remember the Y2K stocks, and everyone was afraid of the Y2K bug shutting down all the computers. There were companies that I was buying like Accelerate, and I was buying it, I think, like in the 8s, and I was selling it like in the 15s or 20s, and it went to like 100 plus. And then Y2K comes, completely meaningless, and then all the Y2K plays went to zero. And it was just like, you're just trading the mania. Once you start to recognize that these companies are all crap, they're all going to fail, you're not believing the hype, you're just riding it. And I think that's what more people need to understand. This isn't moving based on fundamentals. It can be the wrong ticker, it can be the wrong sector. It can be anything. Like sometimes, like, all the Q tickers, QMCO, QUBT, QBTS, they're all spiking just because they're Q and they have quantum. Like, this is how stupid this is, and it's a gift. People want to rip on it. Short sellers will be like, this is wrong, dilution tracker. And it's a gift. Don't refuse the gift. It's wrong of you to refuse the gift. It's rude. If you go to somebody's house and they give you a gift, open the gift and say thank you. The market is giving us these ridiculous gifts.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I still think the nuttiest one, or the most stupid one, was ears and what was it? Ears and eyes. They were completely unrelated, but as soon as ears moved, eyes moved as well.
Well, there was also, what was it? Cats and dogs too.
Oh, that's it. Cats and dogs.
Like,
Yeah.
You have to laugh at it, and it's beautiful because this is the meme economy, meme stocks, crap coins. I don't know if I can swear. I've never seen.
Too late. That's all fine.
I said crap coins. I didn't say the real word.
Yeah, true. Very true. Yeah.
Come on. I thought about this, but like, this is what is in play. So I think that as a trader, you have to not be so judgy. You have to just focus. Okay, this is where the traders are. This is where the longs are. This is where the shorts are. This is where the horde of day traders are. And you're trading that volatility. And, some people like to hold overnight. Some people don't like to hold overnight. You find what works for you, but there's so much volatility. You can trade conservatively, you can trade aggressively, and I really think that you can, make this market work for you. I have part-time students, full-time students. I know some people sit in front of the computer all day, 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. They have no lives. They train like Olympic people, like Olympic athletes. That's boring to me. I actually trade better when I'm traveling because I'm not looking to trade. I'm completely jet lagged. Like if you can see my eyes, I'm so jet lagged right now. I'm on crap Wi-Fi. I'm about to fly to Japan. I'm going to be even more terrible jet lag, but I'm going to be having some amazing food and seeing the changing colors, and I'll be trading. So you have to find what works for you, and you can't be so narrow-minded. You can't be like, this company does not deserve to be this high. I'm going to put an X on the chart and say it no longer deserves to go up. And then it'll just blow through your X and you'll get wrecked.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, like, for example, like I traded QUBC today on the short side. And I think, like, you just have to, like, I mean, from my point of view, like, all the good plays are the exact like, I'm just waiting for what you're describing to happen, and I'm waiting for that blow off. I'm waiting for that to happen, and then I become interested because I know that's when everyone's exhausted. That's when actually, obviously, longs are exhausted as well, but importantly, shorts have been blown, and actually, then you've got the chance of hopefully a clean fade, which is what I do like in this market in particular, the extremely volatile markets where everything goes nuts. It blows off nicely, it goes nuts, but then it soon comes back and unravels as well, which, I mean,
you have opportunities for everybody. I mean, pull up the after hours action on ZENA. It literally just touched the eights. And as we're doing this, it's faded nearly $2 a share. So, like, you have all the shorts panicking, thinking that the fours are the top, the fives are the top, the sixes, they get blown out, sevens and eights. And now you have this gradual fade. And, it'll probably fade for a little bit, and then we'll see how long it fades. Then maybe another run up tomorrow. We'll see if it gets back to the eights. If it gets back to the eights, it can go to the tens. So, like, you play the waves and you just stay, kind of non-biased. Pull up KULR. This is another piece of crap. This company has actually paid promoters in the past, but they have these little battery packs and they do these deals with the Navy and NASA, and everyone's all excited.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And this is running up right now. One of my students, JCP, picked this overnight, and it's such a piece of crap company, but he's riding it.
Oh, wow, what a day!
Yeah, this is going to be a great short for you tomorrow. Enjoy.
Yeah, I'm adding it to my watch as we speak. Yeah,
as you should. It's up 105% because they did a contract with the U.S. Navy. It's probably like a $5,000 contract. It's like nothing, and it's a joke of a company, and it's a beautiful joke.
I mean, the volume's insane as well.
And it's a momentum play. I mean, this is no different than, like, we'll see how far it can go. Maybe it's not a short tomorrow. Maybe it's a short Wednesday or Thursday. I hope these things go as far as possible. Remember FFIE? I'm curious. Did you trade that?
Yeah, I traded FFIE. Yeah,
Did you profit? Because I know a lot of short sellers that were shorting it too soon.
No, I was pretty good, actually. Like, that's one of my strengths is I'm very patient and typically willing to wait.
Because you're British and you drink tea.
I drink, well, I mean, I actually don't drink a lot of hot drinks, but
what? You're bad.
When was this? Is it? Oh, they've done reverse splits and stuff since, haven't they? I'm looking at this thinking it never.
You see the basic chart pattern, and you see it's ridiculous. And literally, like Kyle Williams, Jack Kellogg, Lucas, a lot of the best short sellers I know were too early. They got too excited in the ones and the twos, and it went to what? The fours.
Yeah, I remember fours. Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah.
But I was at dinner with Lucas. Lucas re-shorted in the fours, and literally he's making seven figures at dinner. And I'm like, I get all excited. I'm emotional. Lucas is like ice cold, like no emotions. And I know he's shorting like 500,000 shares at like 4. And I'm at the end of the table and I'm like, let's go.
Well, that day I remember because it went all the way up to 4 and it actually went all the way back down to like 90 cents or something before the end of the day. Nuts.
At the beginning of dinner, like Lucas was down. By the end of the dinner, he was up 7 figures and he ordered some nice bottles of wine. And I was
say, so he had did he pick up the bill then at least?
He did. He did pick up the bill. He was very happy. But like, it's beautiful to see that. I mean, he trades an excessive amount for most people, but like, it's all backed by data. Like Jack, Kyle, Lucas, they've all made millions backed by data. Outsiders just see these young guys like gambling randomly, but they don't see the thousands of spreadsheets, the thousands of hours that they put in to actually have the confidence to take that size.
So do you get frustrated then when you see like traders are portraying like I call it like the Lambo lifestyle, and you got that typical like it's a typical green Lambo that's probably rented and like I don't know. Does that frustrate you? Because I think that portrays a really I think it portrays a really untrue aspect. Don't get me wrong. I think trading's absolutely incredible, but ultimately we are spending, a fair amount of time in front of our screens. It is hard work. It can be frustrating, and don't get me wrong. Like it's amazing, and I absolutely love it. But equally, when I see that green Lambo, I'm like, oh.
I mean, I'm one of the founders, I think, of the Lambo lifestyle movement. Like when I had back in 2012, when I had to get my first Lambo, I had an orange Lambo. I was the orange
You're
douchebag.
the orange one. Orange.
Literally, Business Week, first time they ever used the word douchebag in a title, this guy. Okay.
Wow.
So I was that guy. I think, it's been taken out of context now. Like this was years ago. I was just trying to get people to want to study. Like I did videos, like in-depth exposés on some of these companies. Like I did the first time I realized the power of it. I did like this 45-minute video digging through all the SEC filings of some blatant pump and dump. And I spent all night, I stayed up and I'm like, I'm going to teach everyone how to spot this. And it got like, I don't know, 70 or 75 views the next day, like 6 comments. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is so useful. Then I had just gotten the Lambo and I was like, okay, let me see. Literally, it was orange. I was like, let me put the carrot in front of the video. And I did like a little 30-second montage in front of the video with me driving the Lambo. And I posted the same video like 3 days later, and it got thousands of views and everyone was like, great video. So like, I think that visual motivation is good. If we're spending so many thousands of hours studying, we're pushing ourselves to like mental breakdowns. You got to have some reward. It's very difficult for me to show the reward of charity or like teaching. It's not very visual. It's not very beautiful. Like, okay, you see me hugging my students, hugging my parents. You see me like opening schools. But back then I wasn't even into charity and I couldn't even understand that as a motivator. Cars, watches, the luxury lifestyle, that was good. I think that the problem now is that people who use it, like you say, they rent the car, they don't actually own it, they're not doing it for the right reasons, they're trying to like clickbait. So that's a little different. I think if you can back it up with actual strategy and useful lessons, I think you have to do whatever you can. I wish more teachers used visual motivations to get their students to study. But you also recognize that there's a whole shady industry of like internet like scum that they don't teach anything.
Yeah, that is the issue. That whenever I see that green bloody Lamborghini now.
What is this green? I don't know who had a
you don't
green
see the
one.
green. All I see is the green one, and then I see underneath like someone like there's like a community note saying this is rented or something like that.
I mean, so there's like drop shipping these days, and there's like Amazon, and there's eBay. Like there's all these little strategies, and it's just not. I mean, for me, trading is beautiful still. Even though I've been doing it for a while, it's like this beautiful challenge to try to like learn enough to master the markets. It's not some cheesy little internet scheme that's not going to work. And there's like, FTC warnings on the bottom. Like this is what happens with a lot of these people where they've been like, they've been scamming. So, I'm very proud of my now 10,000 video lesson library, but it doesn't study itself. And I'll tell you, more people than not started with me because of the visual motivations that I shared early in my career. My social engagement is dead compared to what I used to do. My personal enjoyment and happiness with teaching and charity is much better. But in the beginning, literally, I had like rappers stealing my photos and videos because I was so good at the visual motivation game. I got in a fight with Little Bow Wow. He stole like my $1 million stack of cash and he filtered it and he said it was his. And I was like, I called him out because I'm petty like that. And I was like, Bow Wow, you don't have to, be a broke musician anymore. I'll teach you stock trading. And I signed it Little Juju and he like got pissed and he told his like 4 million followers at the time. He's like, everyone go attack at Timothy Sykes. And he linked me and my phone is like blowing up with like little snakes and L's because that's internet attacking. And then I went from like 50,000 followers on Instagram to like 400,000 followers like that. So that boosted me in the algorithms, that boosted everything. And I was like, this is me being attacked. I'm in a rapper beef. Like, and that was all because I took $1 million of cash out of the bank, my own $1 million, from Bank of America. They charge me like $2.95. Then people think that I'm faking. There's like accusations that I'm using fake cash and I'm buying fake cash on eBay. And I'm like, I brought a reporter, Business Insider reporter, with me to, Bank of America to see me take out the $1 million cash uninsured. It was actually 1.2 million. And it was so stupid, but like that was the beginning of my teaching career.
I mean, were you in your 20s by any chance at this point?
Yes, I was. It was a fun time.
I was going to say, I mean, don't get me wrong, it sounds amazing, but it does sound like something. I mean, a 20. I mean, it sounds.
Was that douchebag. I was that 20-something douchebag. I showed up to interviews drunk. I stayed out all night. I wasn't mature, but you don't know what you don't know, and I don't regret being an idiot for so long. It was fun.
And to be honest, I'd have been the same. I'm not like for sure. I'd have been the same. I wouldn't have got orange though. I don't know.
I didn't want orange. I wanted black. I wanted to be like Batman. The freaking
black makes sense.
It sold the day before, and I literally had just moved to Miami, and I had no car, and there weren't that many Lambos, and I was like, I'll take the orange one. So I embraced my douchebag image. This was long before orange politicians rose to power. I invented the orange lifestyle. Maybe the Oompa Loompas had a little bit of an effect on me.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, I think orange in Miami actually, I think that would suit. That does make sense to me actually. In Miami, I could see orange going down well. No, that's.
I got a red Ferrari. I got a light blue, baby blue Huracan. I got a gold McLaren, and I got a navy and silver Rolls Royce. So I was trying all the different colors. The Rolls Royce actually did the most on social media, and I hated it the most. It was so big. It was like driving like my own hearse to my own funeral.
Yeah, they don't quite. I mean, I actually, yeah. I mean, I just would like just a standard. I like a standard Audi. That's my thing. That's what I drive. And
that's basically the same engine as a Lamborghini. So
yeah, that's what I tell myself. Exactly.
But it was good. It was fun. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I got over that phase.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting. It's certainly, and like, do you see this perhaps with some of your students as well, or are they typically? Do they not go through that 20s phase? Because you don't actually, from genuine trait, like I don't see, like I've met Jack, I've met Kyle, I've met Lucas. They are not flashy at all. I mean, Jack just had this it's like a monster. It was like for me, it was like I'm obviously British, so we don't really drive these things. It was like a monster truck, and it was raised and it had huge wheels, but
that's his thing. But he bought a house. He built a quad track in back of his house. He does have a boat with a picture of his face on it as a pirate. So I was like, that's when you have too much money. But he's in his early 20s. All these guys, and now, Mariana, my first female millionaire student, they're so responsible because they put in the thousands of hours studying. And when you do that, and it's not like they just made $1 million overnight, like they all went through their ups and downs. They're still going through their ups and downs. But when you go through the whole process, it makes you really wise beyond your years. So I don't worry about any of the millionaires, but it's the visual that gets people studying. It's the talking about the other millionaires being like, this guy did it, this girl did it, you can do it. Because so many people think that it can't happen to them. I wanted you to show that I couldn't even get my screen share working. Like, I'm such an idiot at technology. I'm not good at math. I don't think you have to be that smart to do very well in trading. And I think that's very useful. You can make a lot of money, obviously, as like a doctor or a lawyer on Wall Street, but those people are really smart. I think a lot of people who are really successful traders, they're just not that smart, but there's so much opportunity. So for people who are not smart, I think this is the best industry to be in.
Yeah, I do think that's it. So what do you think then? Obviously you've coached, hundreds of, thousands, tens of thousands of people. I mean, you're a millionaire. I know you've got loads. It seems to be growing all the time. What would you say is like the number one trait amongst like all of them then?
So it's dedication to studying and patience, prioritizing education first. So I say that you have two accounts, your knowledge account and your brokerage account. Everyone always wants to grow their brokerage account first. They don't think about the knowledge account. They're like, yeah, give me a hot pick. I'll study after I get the hot pick. Prove to me that you're real. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Like, a hot pick isn't just going to come out of the air magically. Like, you have to learn risk reward. Where do you enter? Where you exit? What works for you and your personality? So all of the students, Jack has been amazing. He has strep and mono. He's trading through strep and mono. When I went up to congratulate him on, crossing 1 million, him, Mariana, and Kyle Williams, all of them were closing in on $1 million at a time. They're up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. They got up at 6. They do like 4 hours of reviewing their trades every Saturday. And that's not fun. That's not, exciting, but it's the process. So you have to fall in love with the process of learning. And then over time, you learn what you're good at. You can size up later on. Tim Grittani, over 16 million now. He never bragged about the money that he made. He still doesn't. He's very humble. But in the beginning, him, Jack, and a lot of the other millionaire students, they were plus or minus $50, $100, $200. Jack was down 20 grand after 20 months, but he was learning. It wasn't just throwing 20 grand into the wind. So you have to really understand that you have to test. You have to be willing to lose, ideally lose small in the beginning. And then you size up when you find like your seam, when you find your pattern, when there's a hot market, that's when you size up. But in the beginning, it's all testing, it's all learning. And that's very, very frustrating. So you have to be willing to go through that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to be honest, my typical advice to people, if they say to me like, and this is one of the reasons actually where I really when I loved your message, because you were basically like, this shit is hard. It's not easy. Most people fail. And I felt like actually at the time you were the first person who wasn't like saying, oh, this is easy, just follow me and you'll get a green Lamborghini. And that's that actually the challenge really sort of excited me more than anything. I am interested though, if say you've got a new person joins the room tomorrow and over the next month, do you think there's are there early signs where you can go, I'm going to keep an eye on that guy because I think he or she, I think they're going to make it?
So great question. Early when I first started the challenge, Michael Good was one of my first haters. He later joined. He became like my chat room moderator, first millionaire student. And so like Michael Good and I were giving webinars early on, and Tim Grittani was just starting. And Tim Grittani was asking me some questions, but he was asking Michael Good a lot of questions. And Michael Good came to me early on. Tim Grittani, I think he was up like 10 or 15 grand, maybe 20 grand, like very early in his career. And Michael Good was like, watch Tim Grittani. He's asking really good questions. He has the right mindset. And I took Tim Grittani, he was like, when he crossed over $100,000, took him to the Maldives. That was his first trip overseas. He's trading in the middle of the night. I'm drinking pina coladas, getting drunk. He's focused. Like, it was very cool to see his rise and understand, he turned 1,500 into $1 million in 3 years, but his first year he made zero. So again, he got obsessed with education, asking the right questions, tuning into every webinar, just putting in the time. And that's dedication. That's what it takes.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think now like people talk about I don't know when you've technically made it in terms of trading. Like I personally like the idea of never thinking I've made it, and that's definitely what I'm going to do. But in terms of a successful trader, like how long do you think that journey is like at the moment?
It's different for everybody, and it's not just $1 million. Like I have this thing in the millionaire challenge. Like I like having that big goal that like puts it out there where like, yes, you can actually do this. $1 million isn't what it used to be. Financial freedom, retiring your parents, taking care of your loved ones, buying a car, whatever, giving to charity. Everyone's a little different. But it's having that freedom to choose, because most people don't have the freedom. Most people would love a Lamborghini. Most people would love a trip to the Maldives or to charity. They just don't have it. There's half of America have savings of less than $10,000. So they're living with very small amounts of extra money. And now I come back to America and the prices are crazy. Like it's insane. So I think that you really need to have that big goal. There are studies that show if you have a big goal as opposed to a small goal, it increases your daily performance 15 to 25% because you're doing a lot of the right, you're exhibiting the right habits every day to make that big goal actually happen. Versus some people where they're like, I just want to make $1,000. You can sell drugs and make $1,000. It's not a good habit, and it's not like a lifelong thing, right? Yeah. But you'll probably get your $1,000. Yeah, exactly. But you'll probably get your $1,000, but you don't have the right, habits down, and you're on the wrong track. So I think getting on the right track, emulating great sports stars like, Kobe Bryant with Mamba mentality. He's in the gym working every day, midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. You look at stars like Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, you look at like Jordan. Jordan wasn't even that good early in his career. If you look at like the sports stars, I mean, Tom Brady was drafted 199th long before he was the GOAT. And he had that chip on the shoulder. I don't know if you remember Tom Brady. Do you follow American football?
I know the big stars in America. So I know Tom Brady. I know basketball pretty well.
Towards the end of his career, he had some record, and they were like, "Hey, what does it feel like to break this record?" And he's like, "Not bad for somebody drafted 199." This was like over a decade ago, and he still has that chip on his shoulder, and he's used that chip on his shoulder. I don't know if you watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, where like he takes any insult and he internalizes it and he uses it to drive himself. Yeah. So anybody who's talked negatively about you, don't block them, highlight them, like pin the tweets of your haters and use that to drive you. Like, I wouldn't work this hard if I didn't have so many haters. And I always say thank you to the haters. I was like, thank you for pushing me. You've made me so much more successful. And they're like, what? They're so confused. They don't know what to say, but it's true. I don't have that many haters as I once did. So hopefully I can get some more haters. I try to look for haters and short sellers. The promoters are all like coked out or in prison, or I guess Atlas Trading has been set free. So maybe there's not even any laws with promoters anymore. I don't know how that works, but I'm missing out on like a really good beef. I could use a good beef right now.
We'll see what little Bow Wow's up to then. See if he's still around.
He posts better rapper photos than me these days.
To be fair, I don't know. I haven't heard of it. I haven't seen him in a while.
So he's not little Bow Wow anymore. He hasn't grown. He's still little, but like his brand he's been on a few reality shows. I don't know what the rappers are up to.
Last I heard of him was Fast and Furious. But it is interesting what you say, because I still do. I play rugby, I used to play a lot more, and I'm sort of at the tail end of it. But I loved nothing more than going to an away ground and just getting abuse. Just people just shout, like literally you go to some place, they're just shouting at you from the sidelines. And there's nothing more motivating. I used to prefer that actually than playing at home. I used to just love it. I absolutely love it. So funny you say that.
I think you have to worry if you get too many compliments and you start believing all the compliments, then you work less. You feel like you really made it. Like going back to your question, like when did you really make it? When you get too many congratulations, like when people say like, oh, the maestro, the master trader. And I'm like, nah. I don't want to hear that. I personally don't think of myself as like a master trader. I'm just experienced. Like, you want an example? Xena is a great example. I sold it in the 4s. I'm celebrating in my webinar, and then it goes to the 8s. Yeah. Perfect example. I don't know how to do a screen share. I want all the little examples to show that I'm just an average person, because I think that with the right mindset, with enough studying, average people really can live extraordinary lives. And that's the beauty here. That wasn't possible before in the past. You always have like a few overachievers and they'll rise in whatever decade or century they live in. But right now, average people have more access to useful, life-changing information, and you just have to put it in the right place. You have to put the proper emphasis on the proper syllable.
Yeah, but I also think, like, to add to that, like you just mentioned, like Kobe, you mentioned Jordan, like Tom Brady, they're all famed for the work they did, like outside of the game. Like Tom Brady would talk about how, like, this is what I know about him anyway. Like he would talk about footage, and I know like Kobe I know all this, and they used to tell stories about Cristiano Ronaldo. Like he used to just dribble around Manchester United training pitch for like half an hour after every training session, and then people are like, "Oh, how's he so good on a Saturday when he plays?" He's put the work in, and I think that's the important thing. I think you say like an average person. I do think you're right, but they have to do something that's great, and it's probably effort or dedication or something. They have to be great at something to be great at trading, in my opinion.
Yeah, average people with above average work ethics and putting that work ethic into action. Like I said, Kyle, Mari, and Jack long before they made as much as they made now, they were putting in the right habits. Ray Allen, another great 3-point shooter in the NBA, he gave a great interview where it's like all about boring daily habits. He won the NBA championship one year, and the next day he went into the dentist's office, and the dentist is like, "What are you doing here? You just won the NBA championship." And he's like, "I don't care. I need to see my dentist." Like, when you win these awards, when you have the big trades, even if you ask any of my students or even myself when I have a big trade, it's not like, "Oh my God, I've made it. I'm not going to trade for the next month." It's like, okay, that was a good trade. Now let's get back on it and see what we can do the next day, 2 days, 3 days later. Once you start learning like this is all a process and you're trying to refine and optimize your process, you really hone in on doing that. You don't get distracted by your wins. You don't let any losses cripple you. Like a lot of newbies I see, when they sell too soon and they don't make the big profits that they think they deserve, they get discouraged. And I'm like, no, you should be encouraged because you got the win and you got the lesson. That's win-win. If you had timed it perfectly, you would have just gotten the win. You wouldn't have gotten the lesson. You probably would have gotten the wrong lesson. You would have gotten too cocky. So you got to stay humble. You got to always focus on like, what is the next? Take a day off, take a week off. If you want, you have that freedom. But it's all about what can you do in the future? How do you utilize your past? How do you utilize the present to keep going? And that's what really does amazing things once you build over time. Tim Grittani, Jack Kellogg, they don't care about making Lucas too. They don't care about making $10,000 or $50,000 in a day because they've already leveled up. A lot of people would love to make $10,000 or $50,000 in a day, but they haven't put in the time. So you can't level up when you don't have the data, when you don't have the experience. You got to start small and you got to go one level at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I want to ask you then, what's your highlight of 2024? I mean, trading wise, I mean, I think it's been like, when you look back, like you mentioning FFIE, for example, that was all the way back in that was May or June, I think.
Yeah, summer.
We've just been spoiled for like those big opportunities, in my opinion, this year.
I mean, if you ask me to quote the top 10 runners this year, it's all a blur. Like there's been literally hundreds, which hasn't always been the case. In years past, there might be like 10 or 15 really good ones over the course of the year. There's literally hundreds. I think the highlight is just being here and learning from this market. Obviously, like crypto breaking out to new highs, stock market hitting new highs, short squeezes getting squeezed like never before. It's a beautiful year, but again, it's not any one specific highlight. There's no like Super Bowl for me. It's the process. And yeah, I've already had 6 or 7 new millionaires, more coming up. I'm going to one of my students' weddings, Evan Shunk, Matt Monaco, another one of my millionaire students got married. Next year, Kyle Williams, another millionaire student, gets married. So it's money, it's life. We have 6 new schools already. I'm going to Bali in a few weeks for another new school. It's just the process, and it's a beautiful process. And this has been building. How do you get a millionaire student? How do you build a school? It's years of work. So years of work paying off. And I think that's really defines 2024.
And I suppose then that probably answers the next question. Then in terms of like next year, obviously, literally we're recording a month until Christmas. Next year, more of the same, I guess you're looking forward to then.
More millionaire students, more opportunities, more schools. Again, once you find your process, you just really keep it going. Like I don't want to just have a few millionaire students. I'm like, how do I get more? I don't want to just build one school. How do I do more? I'm bringing more celebrities to Bali and on different charity trips to try to get them to share. But it makes me happy. So I want everybody watching this to find what makes you happy. It's not necessarily travel or charity or making a lot of money. Find what makes you happy. If you do have money, it gives you more freedom to find what makes you happy. But then you focus on that. Try to spend as much time doing what you love as much as you can and with the people that you love. That's the ultimate freedom. So many people work in the rat race. They don't have the freedom to do what they want. They work with people that they hate. They hate their bosses. They hate their debts. They hate their daily process. And if that's you, if you haven't achieved your goals, use that hatred to study an extra half hour at night at 10 p.m. or on the weekends. Like, you don't have to just zone out and watch Netflix or watch like a fantasy movie or play video games and pretend like this is your life that, you don't want to think about. Your life is what you make it. Your future is what you make it. And we all have opportunity like never before, thanks to the internet, thanks to technology, thanks to education. And it's just about you putting in the time to really maximize your education, then using that education into execution, because now we have a hot market. Everything is coming together. 2023, 2024, 2025, 2022, you had the right to be disappointed. The market sucked. Life sucked. 2020, 2021, the markets were great, but life sucked. Like, there's nothing that's sucking right now. Okay, geopolitically, maybe we have some issues. Hopefully that's going to be solved in the next few months, but you can't do anything about it. All you can do is work on your process, your education, and your goals. And that's what this is. 2023, 2024, 2025. Let's go. Let's push it.
I'm ready. I feel ready. I feel incredibly motivated.
Vamos, chicos!
I still can't believe it's nearly. I don't know. I got to ask, is this a trading thing, or does time just get quicker and quicker as you get older? Because literally blink and you're like, FFIE was 5 months ago, and like literally 2025 is 6-7 weeks away now.
I think it's trading in a hot market with play after play. Like, every day I'm exhausted. There's not a day where it's like, oh, there was no good plays today. Like, there's 5, 10, 20 good plays. I could go on 6 hours talking about other plays. You have to focus on the best plays, but it does like speed up time. You get overwhelmed. Every trader I know is like exhausted, but like, you have to capitalize because we know not all markets are this good. And so like, there's a time to push it and there's a time to pull back. And this is the time, I think, to push it.
And I think
if you're prepared.
And I think that's probably one of my biggest lessons this year, is that when there's a chance to pull back and it is a little bit quieter, take more time off, because I think that's probably where I've exhausted myself a little bit. And then you get that hot market and you get everything's crazy, and then you're just not quite like 100% or whatever. And that's probably
it's ups and downs. Even like your losses, everyone experiences losses. The losses make the wins more gratifying. It makes more meaningful. The sweet isn't as sweet without the sour. And you have to really understand different things. Like, you can't just push yourself 24/7. You'll burn out. So I actually pray for like a slow market. Everyone's always praying for a hot market, more hot plays. I'm like, I want a market crash. I want Satoshi to be unmasked, crypto to drop 80% in a day, get rid of all the momentum. Let me take 3 weeks off and lose the 30 pounds that I've recently gained because I'm so focused on this stuff. It doesn't matter whether we want a hot market or a cold market, but you should recognize the difference. And if you're in trading for long enough, like, cold markets are useful too. They're very useful for studying. You catch up. It's really tough to learn a lot in a hot market because everything is just moving so fast. And if you're a newbie, you're just like, wait, what? Wait, but what? No. Like, I can imagine how overwhelmed some newbies are in this market. And you're just like, this stock was at 6 yesterday. Why is it at 20 today? And it's like, welcome to the market.
Yeah, it's fun. And like I said, it's just funny you mentioned that, because like today, for example, like when we were talking about all the Qs and the quantum, anything quantum computer related, like when I look back at those, like if I look at those charts now, I'm genuinely not surprised in the least bit actually about that action today. Like, in terms of when I woke up this morning, did I think, yes, it could go a bit stupid? Did I look at QMCO and think, actually, don't get me wrong, I didn't think it would go to 28, but did I look at it and think, actually, this looks like it could go a bit nuts today? Yeah, 100%.
I mean, because you're accustomed to it. Like, that's the 2024 lesson. We get accustomed to this madness. And so it's just our usual. But if you're an outsider or if you're not used to it, you're just like, what do I do? If you are overwhelmed watching this, it's okay to trade small. It's okay to paper trade. It's okay to take a step back. you got to start small before you can go big. Everyone wants the big money. Like everyone was posting their micro strategy gains the other day. And I did a video lesson, big trading versus small account trading. I didn't even trade micro strategy. I was trading these lower price plays, and I was very happy trading my little drone plays, UAVS and this one that's popping up today, like ZENA, CRNC was like a little earnings winner. You don't have to trade the most popular plays, and you don't have to try to go for home runs. It's good inspiration to show you what's possible later on once you have the experience, but like, don't be afraid to trade small. I wish more people did that.
Yeah, 100%. And that would be one thing that if I could speak to myself starting out, it would be to have a fixed size that was small, that I could just stomach losing on a day-to-day basis, and quite frankly, just not care about. And then as it slowly, like, as the losses got smaller and as I got to like that break-even point, and then as I started getting profitable, that's when actually I think you could start moving through the gears. But that initial point, I wish I look back. That's actually one of the things I do wish I'd look back. I look back and wish I'd done better for sure.
I mean, look, I didn't have a mentor, so my education is all screwed up. Like I'm the teacher, and I'm trying to think about what I wish someone had told me in the beginning. I'm far too emotional, far too undisciplined. I'm so proud of like my rational, emotionless top students. They have the right framework, the right foundation. If you don't have a good foundation, it's really tough to build. Like, I mean, if you're an architect, right? It doesn't matter if you want to build a 100-story skyscraper. If you don't have a solid foundation, it's just going to crumble. So I think most people need a foundation of knowledge with small size where the money doesn't matter and you can like learn for different things. Like, unfortunately, money really messes things up because like, sometimes you make like a degenerate gambler trade and you make like, in the beginning, like $3,000, which is a lot for you. And you learn the wrong lesson. Like you're motivated to do more of these degenerate gambler type lessons in trades, even though that might not be right for you in the beginning. So like be careful of like misinformation in like the wrong directions. I would rather someone make, $300, $400 on disciplined, meticulous, risk-adjusted trades than like a gambling type thing, like where you're buying like a random crypto or something, and the money screws you up.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this has been an absolute blast. I mean, I thank you so much for giving me time. I know you're about to fly to Japan in 6 hours or something.
That's it. 5.5 hours. I'm trying to stay awake.
5.5 hours.
14
Well,
hours.
are you in the US at the moment?
I'm in the US. I'm in India on social media. I don't even post in real time anymore. It's usually like 2 or 3 weeks behind.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you so much for, I mean, it's super motivating for sure. And I am ready to tear into, the rest of this year and to 2025. Just want to thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a blast in Japan and all these weddings. I mean, that must be the nuts thing about your job, is the amount of weddings you get invited to across the globe.
I'm not a friendly person. I don't know why everyone's getting the wrong idea. Like I'm not looking for these wedding invites. This is just crazy. I'm honored to have them. But like, yeah, I mean, I love meeting up with different traders around the world, and it's really my honor to see like the lessons turn into like a really changed life. And all my students have great like fiancés, and the top students have great attitudes. So it's really made trading and this whole journey much more fulfilling.
Yeah, and it definitely looks like, from an outsider looking in, it definitely looks like you have so much fun. That's for sure. So 100%. Much fun. Yeah. And
always fun. It's good. I mean, look, like I've been trading 25 years, teaching 15 years. If I'm not having fun, I got to think about changing, but I'm not thinking about changing anytime soon. I'm pushing it, like I said, with the opportunities. If we get a giant market crash, then I'll pull back from, trading so aggressively so often. But when the market's hot, you got to push it. Even if you have a small account, you got to learn. Every single day you can learn from these things. Missed trade, made trade, you sold too early, you sold too late, you only got a partial fill. Like, all of this stuff helps build your foundation, and then you start growing. It's so important to really learn from every trade. And that way, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, you remember these little trades and they build you up, and then you can take more size.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for your time tonight. I mean, we'd love to meet one day. I mean, I'm really boring actually. Like, I barely drink now.
I
I'm
can't
pretty,
drink for shit.
yeah.
It's fine. Like it's fine.
I
Where are
mean,
you based?
I'm still good at it. I just don't do it. Like,
Where are
so
you based?
I'm in the south of the UK.
Okay,
So,
nice.
but I do.
I was in the south of the UK, or no, I was near Wales. I don't know where that is
Yeah,
in.
I'm not. I mean, I went to uni in Wales. I'm not too far from. I'm like a couple hours from Wales. I remember, like,
Last time I met up with Lucas, I flew from Tokyo to Birmingham, and we met up in Birmingham, and then went to
yeah,
Wales.
yeah.
My favorite.
I used to live near Birmingham. I mean, I think. I mean, I love the UK. I mean, We do head across to the US occasionally, and I mean, I've been to a couple of traders for a cause. I mean, if you ever get a chance, it'd be great to
100%. I
meet up.
wanted to go this year, but I was in where was I? Tanzania. It's tough.
Okay,
You
that's
know,
tough. It's tough at the
I
top, eh?
yeah, I had to be in Tanzania, so it happens. But one of these days we'll meet up, and I would love that.
For sure. No, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, see you soon,
Sure,
Tim. Thanks very
cheers,
much.
man. Have a good night.
Appreciate it. You too.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of Trading Takes. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please check out some of others with some great traders. Thank you for watching.